update on Lexi? She's out here shooting without a boot on.
Yeah, she's not going to play this weekend, and I still don't know. So that's one you got to ask the doctors. I haven't been on the ground long enough to know, but my guess is no on this weekend, and hopeful for next. But we'll see after that.
But you have to be thankful, sort of, happy to see that she's out here. She doesn't have to wear the boot. There's maybe a little more. There's a definite possibility of seeing her sooner than later.
Well, again, I don't know. It's definitely going to be some weeks, but yeah, listen. We just want her for the stretch run. I think that's what's really critical. And I leave that up to the doctors. But we're hopeful. Yeah, she's been able to shoot around. She can't practice yet, but that's a start.
You always talk about Cal's talent, and that they can pretty much beat anyone. What's kind of your thought on this year's matchup with them? And
yeah. Well, the good news and bad news about taking a trip to the Midwest is you have a lot of airport time and a lot of plane time. So with a laptop computer, I was able to watch lots of games, right? They are really good. Christine Anigwe is an unbelievable talent. And, she's shooting 65% from the three-point line, which makes her even doubly tough. Cowling is fantastic, is shooting the ball better. They have a freshman point guard who's, I think, really allowed Asia Thomas to kind of float and be the shooter that she's capable of being. And then they have a bunch of other athletes. That's a really good team. They defend well, they rebound well, they're shooting it better, and then they have a couple of stars. So yeah, this is going to be a challenge.
I know it's give and take with the unbalanced schedule, year to year, who you miss, who you don't go play, but is it a break not to play at the Bay Area this year, given the standings right now with Stanford right behind you?
Well, yes and no. You might want that second game against them if you need it, but yeah, those are two good teams, and good teams usually play well at home. So if you miss them at their place, I think that's probably a positive. They talk about fairness of this schedule, and every year it's going to be a little unfair to somebody. And I wish they'd make it so. The last couple of years we didn't play the Washington schools. Just kind of keep it regional, and you're always playing your region teams twice. I just think that's important. But yeah, that's sure. I'd rather be playing them only once at home than only once on the road.
Right. A couple weeks now without Bando. Just big picture. How do you feel like you've weathered that? Her absence.
We've weathered it so far so good. Yeah, that mountain trip, that is not an easy trip by any stretch. The travel, the altitude, the time difference, the fact we played a Friday night 8 p.m. game and then a Sunday after a day of travel on Saturday a noon game. So yeah, I think we're adjusting to it. We're a little different, no question about it. But different players have stepped up. Justine Hall had a nice weekend, and so did Ina Ayuso. So, other really good, talented guards stepped in for.
I assume you guys can feel Stanford and UCLA chomping at your heels. Is this a pretty big week, I would take it then, to maybe make that next step forward and a little breathing room?
4 weekends left, they're all big. Friday night's game is the biggest game we'll play all year. And then after that game, Sunday will be the biggest game. And it'll even be the biggest game that day. Take that, Bill Belichick. Yeah, that's the way it is this time of year. They all matter the same. They all count the same. But yeah, if we were fortunate enough to win a couple this week, it gives us a little cushion against those teams. So absolutely important.
How do you feel like the team adjusted? I know Rob kind of asked a little bit about it, but after a team had a week to prep for you guys without Lexi.
Again, I thought, I knew both coaches this weekend. They're good friends. They knew that Lexi wasn't going to play, so they were able to prepare, as if she wasn't going to play. And I thought her kids passed that test well. We're still good offensively. So you take Bando out of the game, but that means just Satu plays more at the 3. Well, Satu's an elite shooter as well, and she happens to be 6'4". And then it makes us, I think, a little more difficult to guard inside now. We go big. So we're a little different, but we can still put 3 and 4 really good shooters on the floor. And let's face it, Maite stepped up, not even knowing if she was going to play Sunday, and showed that she can be an elite shooter too, going 5 for 5. So We do have a lot of weapons offensively.
So I know she had a little hand deal. There was a risk that she might not play in that one on Sunday.
Yeah, we left the game on Friday night thinking that it was a fracture. Her right hand was broken. And their doctors had kind of intimated that, and both trainers on both sides. And so when she went to get x-rays, we were thinking the worst. That's why the post-game celebration was a little subdued that night, because she's such a likable player and obviously an important part of our team. We got good news from the x-ray that night, but we were still being cautious on Saturday. Got the final word that it was not broken, but we didn't know if she was going to play on Sunday. That was up to her because it still really hurts, and it's her shooting hand. And we left it up to her, and she said she felt good in the warm-ups. And so it just goes to show you, practice might be a little overrated. You know, she didn't do anything, and sure played well on Sunday.
Were you shocked then that she went 5 for 5 from 3 with that hand?
Well, I'm never shocked with her because she's such a competitive kid. She'll find a way. That's what the great ones do, and she is a great one. But yeah, I mean, you know, there was a little surprise, pleasant surprise, and we needed all of them too.
You're starting to formulate what you'd look like without her. Just how do you feel about your depth on the perimeter right now? You don't without Bando for at least another week. How do you feel about the depth there behind Sab, Maite?
Good. You know, Maite missed nearly half of the game at Colorado, so we did have to go with other people. Ina stepped up and had a really good half, and Justine hit a couple of important threes for us. So when those players are called on, they're capable of doing it. They don't get that many opportunities because we have such good guards. But yeah, I would feel very comfortable if even Ina, a freshman, had to come in and play extended minutes. She's a good player. She's a really good player. She's just playing behind Sabrina and Maite, and that's not easy to crack that lineup.
I know Stanford's playing really well so far this year. Was there a mental hurdle at all playing them? These players are probably growing up watching the Cardinal go to Final Fours a lot in their childhood. Is there a mental hurdle at all trying to beat this Stanford team?
Well, I hope not. I think our kids are confident. Well, let's see. No, actually, I think Lexi did beat them as freshmen. I think we beat them here my first year. But yeah, I mean, they've been the standard really over the last couple of decades by which all of us are judged. And you know, so anytime you beat Stanford, that's a good day. And but we've got to work it out for us, no doubt.
Seems like since you've been here, you've mostly played on the Super Bowl on the road. Are you looking forward to Sunday, having a big game, and then being able to go home and watch?
Absolutely. I would encourage all the Duck fans to come out and have this as part of their tailgate party. You know, I mean, who really needs to know 8 hours of pregame coverage on the Super Bowl? You don't need to know what's on every player's playlist, et cetera, et cetera. Just come out here, have some fun. I'll put a helmet on if that helps. And you know, I think it's neat. A couple years ago, it was kind of fun. We played up at Washington on Super Bowl Sunday, and I was adamant about, it was an early game, so I was adamant about wanting to watch the Super Bowl and not know the outcome. It is tough in this day and age, but I had headphones on the entire trip back. If somebody said anything about the game, I started to, and you were able to do it. I can say it's still possible to do if you want.
The trick to that is getting the TV on without seeing like a ticker or something on the bottom, right?
Exactly. And you're going through the Seattle airport, and you're hearing people talk about it. Yeah, it was tough, but it was done. It was done. You can do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I guess last thing, go Eagles.